What's up, people? Ben Sam Life TV here. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for taking time to check out this video. Is the market going to crash up? I mean, I've been watching the stock market ever since 2008 when I lost money, like a lot of people. I started to learn how to trade in 2008 when the market crashed. So I learned how to, lose a small amount of money I had real fast. And ever since then, when the market started coming back, I've always been a contrarian. I've always been waiting for that next market crash, thinking that that's what's going to happen, and just continuing to be on the wrong side. And it was just very frustrating, and seeing how the market just kept going up and keep telling myself, how high can it go, how high can it go? And then we had the pandemic, so there's been crashes, but if you look at overall, the market just goes up. Okay, there are those times when there's the crash and people get wiped out, but in general it just keeps going up. And with the money printing, which has been going on, since I think Bush got out, our monetary, the debt, the U.S. national debt has gone is does double. It's like right now it's like almost 30 trillion. Now when it was at 10 trillion, I was watching videos and people are like, this can't last. It was at 20 trillion and people are like, there's going to be a stock market crash. Now we're at 30 trillion. It's going to be a major crash next month, 2 months, 4 months. And they keep saying that. And they're going to be like, I called it. I called the crash, right? There's so many of them that keep saying that. Yeah, of course you're going to call the crash if you've been calling it for 10 years. So, I mean, I just stopped watching all those videos, all those people, because it's just the same. They just want to just eventually they're going to be right. But on the other hand, the people who are saying the market's going to go up, they've been right more often. Okay, so I should have been listening to those guys. So that being said, now like Bitcoin's at 50,000. I just made a video on that, and now the stock market is at the SPY is almost at 4,000, and the S&P 500 over 30,000. And people are probably like, this is just so high. How high can it go? It's going to crash. I got to make money off this. I'm going to short it. And if you look at it, if you look at it the way it is, yeah, by looking at the stock market, like, this is just way too high. It's going to crash, right? How high can it go? That's what I would think. But when you look at what the policies have been all these years, they just don't want to let it crash. Okay, if there's things like COVID or something happens, they can't stop it. There's going to be extreme volatility, which that's going to be regardless with the way the market is. There's going to be volatility here. Okay. That being said, it just seems like the last 12 years, they do not want to let it crash. They're going to do everything they can to keep this, to keep us getting more into debt and keep this party going, right? Which is fine, because we don't want a depression. We don't want a, recession or a depression. And that would be terrible. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, just let the depression come and we'll just play it from there. It's like, yeah, you could say that, but it's, all the negative things that are going to happen from that. So many lives are going to be lost, so many things. So yeah, it's going to happen, but let's not just let it happen and just have all these people suffer and starve and die, worldwide, because everyone is connected to the US financial system. So if we collapse, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be hurt and devastated. So that being said, they have to find another way out. But until then, they're going to keep this has been their policy. And even Jerome Powell came out and said it. That's what they're going to keep doing, and that's what we see from the government, the U.S. government. They're going to be continue to help the public by giving a stimulus and giving money, printing money to help the people. They don't want to just let this thing crash, so they're going to continue to do this. And so that means, can it crash up? That's what I mean. So if you stop printing money and you let things crash, there'll be a deflation, and houses are going to get cheap, things are going to get cheap, but that's because no one's going to have jobs, no one's going to have any money. So in that sense, there's going to be a lot of cheap stuff, but no one's going to be able to buy it because everyone's going to be broke. So that being said, at least now there's jobs, and if there's not a job, there's stimulus. So there's a way for the system to keep going, and for and with that, if they keep that system going, I mean, there's going to be more inflation. So there's a crash down and there's a crash up. A crash up is where they keep printing money and the stock market goes up. But then the problem is every minimum wage goes up, food goes up, clothing goes up, houses goes up. So everything goes up. So it's not like we're actually really, making more of our investments. But that being said, at least everyone's still working, everyone has food, and everyone's still surviving. Okay. And there's not a bunch of carnage in the street. So that's the positive side. On this. But the negative side of crashing up is this. Let me show you. Venezuela came to mind. That's why I'm thinking too. People say, how high can this go? Like I was thinking, but when I saw Venezuela, and we're not in no way compared to Venezuela, But on the other hand, it's just the principle of printing money, what it can do. Look here in May 2018, and this has gone way higher than what I'm just showing you. This is one of the charts I pulled up. 30,000, 36,000 here in April, between April and May of 2018. Within 1 year, this thing went to 475,000 was their stock market price. 475. Can you imagine Dow 475,000 within 1 year? That's a melt up. That's a crash up because everything else got very expensive around them. So in that sense, if you actually measured things that you own, that you need to buy compared to the stock market, the money that you made in the stock market. Here's the thing though, at least people who own those stocks were able to still have something to buy, where people who were not in the markets and didn't get into this, were not on the right side of this. They had no money. They had the money they had in their bank, say they had 50,000 saved up, that was worthless. So they got wiped out. Whereas people who are in the markets, like the rich people, like the middle, some of the middle class and their 401ks or IRAs, that at least their money is continuing to go up and they can stick with inflation. Whereas a lot of population will get, the poor and but here's the thing though, if the government keeps funding the poor, they're still eating, so on this scenario. Whereas if everything crashes, everyone loses their 401ks, everybody's out, and there is no money for the poor or the middle class, and only the rich barely survive, and they actually end up doing better, because if there's a deflation, the rich can come in and I'm just thinking about that now. That's why some of these rich guys who are like, just let the punch bowl end, just let it crash, just let it come to an end, they're going to be okay. They're going to actually buy everything cheaper. So they want a deflation because they could buy everything cheaper. Whereas in an inflation, in this kind of a monetary system we're in, or financial system, at least everybody's still eating, the poor have. But either way, they both are going to be have a hard outcomes, okay, in the long run. We'll see. But this is just to show you. I just saw this chart and I wanted to show people this. Now, I'm not telling you to buy stocks. This is all educational purposes. I'm just showing you through history what's happened and the possibilities, especially with printing money and with the Fed being very easy on interest rates. They don't mind if it gets hot. What does hot mean to them? Does hot mean the Dow gets to 100,000 before they decide to pull back? And think about that. If it gets to 100,000 and then they say we're going to start raising interest rates, it could crash 50% and we're still will be at 50,000 Dow Dow. Okay. So that's where they want to get. They want to get to the point where it's so high that when they do that, where they end that punch bowl, they pull back, they raise interest rates, the crash is still going to be relative to where we are now, not that bad. Okay, so eventually they can end interest rate. They can raise interest rates if they let it get to a certain point. They're not going to let it get to this point because they're not printing money in Venezuela. I mean, in Venezuela, they don't have the military we do to back our dollar. They don't have, all the financial systems working together to collaborate to keep things going. They're on their own, and that's why you can see. I think their president, is in trouble because he's kind of on his own, doing his own thing, and this is what happened to their financial system. So that being said, just something to think about. How high can the stock market go? Is it going to be a melt up? You might want to be careful if you're shorting, like people look at GameStop and these hedge funds who are, thinking that the market's way too high. It could be a crash any moment. They could be on the wrong side. If this thing goes down 100,000, there's going to be a lot of people losing money who keep shorting, thinking that they're going to, get this crash. Now, on the other hand, be prepared. I mean, if you're in the stock market, you could have huge losses that are possible. So understand that there's huge risk to investing. There's huge risk. There's risk on either side. So my point for this video is it going to be a crash up, and knowing me, I'm starting to look at this right as it's probably going to crash. Okay. So you might want to buy some puts or short some stocks, because when I'm now thinking it's going to go long, that might finally be the time it crashes. So that's usually how it goes. But that being said, just something to think about. Can the stock market continue to go higher, and can it go a lot higher? Can there be a crash up here until a certain point where they start raising interest rates when there's a reason other than some unknown situation that's going to cause it to crash? Now, there will be volatility, because just with the way things are, there will be volatility. Understand that. There could be major downtrends and then major up, but not a huge crash until the Fed is ready to start raising interest rates, and that will be known to everybody. That people will know that's coming. So that being said, hopefully that helped. Thanks for tuning in. Ben Samuelak TV. Is the Dow going to crash up, or the market, or is it going to crash down? Time will tell. Hindsight's 2020. But until then, we just gotta 50-50. Make your choice. Have a nice day.